Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to Deuce Dose. And technically, Starfield still hasn't completely fully released, which is kind of crazy when you think about it, especially now that we have some actual sales numbers. It's already putting up some impressive numbers, and I think that this also really speaks to Xbox's strategy with Game Pass and how they're going to handle their big AAA blockbusters, and we're going to go over all of that today. Then also we got another game delay to talk about, though the reason as to why is quite interesting, and it makes me wonder if this is just the beginning of more to come. As always, though, we do have a lot to get into today, so let's just go and jump right into it, starting off with another 2023 Bethesda title, though one that wasn't received quite as well, being Redfall. As we all know, this game it's faced some struggles, and there for a while there was a lot of questions about whether or not Xbox and Bethesda should have delayed this game. I personally believe that they should have delayed it, and I was on that train as soon as they announced it was a 30 FPS game. Nothing about Redfall should have hindered it from getting to 60 frames per second. What I wasn't aware of at the time, though, was some of its other launch issues. Now, I still believe that it is a fun game, and I do like the setting a lot. I think that there's potential here, but that's the thing. Bethesda's Pete Hines in an interview spoke on Redfall and compared it to Fallout 76. That's quite an interesting comparison, and this is what he had to say. "We are the same company that has had launches that didn't go the way we wanted, and we don't quit or abandon stuff just because it didn't start right. The Elder Scrolls Online's PC launch was not flawless, but we stuck with it. Now it's like this insanely popular multi-platform game. It's the same with Fallout 76. Redfall is no different for us. Okay, we didn't get the start we wanted, but it's still a fun game, and we're going to keep working on it. We're going to do 60 frames per second. We're going to get it to be a good game because we know as a first-party studio, Game Pass lives forever. There will be people 10 years from now who are going to join Game Pass, and Redfall will be there." And when you think about it, what he says here is actually really interesting, especially with the Fallout 76 comparison. That game really struggled to launch with its scores and fan feedback, but with various updates over the years, I mean, you have to tip your hat to Bethesda. They stuck with it, and it ultimately turned out to be a pretty decent game in the long run. Yeah, it probably would have fared better if it had a better launch, and I'm sure the same would have been the case for Redfall, but overall, Bethesda has experience reviving these type of games and just making them into a quality product, and I actually do agree with him in this case. I think Redfall is a fun game buried underneath its flaws, so if they can improve it and almost do a soft relaunch per se, hey, it could be a fun pick up and play game for Game Pass subscribers sometime in the future. Now, speaking of Game Pass, though, Sea of Stars recently launched for all platforms, including a day one release for both Game Pass and PlayStation Plus Extra. Talk about doubling down on those subscriptions. But this honestly might quietly be one of the best games of 2023, and that is saying a lot considering how stacked this year has been overall. No, it's not getting the recognition that games like Starfield, Baldur's Gate 3, and Zelda are, but I'm telling you this right now, every single time that I play Sea of Stars, I am just wowed by how good this game is. I know that this is a jam-packed year. I get that, but do not let this game slip under the radar. That would be such a shame because it really is that good. But for those that have played it, you know what I'm talking about. It's a great game, and even better, Sabotage has already confirmed new DLC titled Throes of the Watchmaker. It's said that it expands even more on the world of Sea of Stars and provides additional insight on the narrative overarching all of their games, which I take that as meaning that they're going to connect Sea of Stars and The Messenger with this DLC. Now, if you're unaware, both these games are set in the same world. Yes, they are very different games, but they are set in the same world, so it sounds like the DLC might explore that even further. That's not quite all here, though, because Sabotage also confirmed that they have a larger team working on their next big project, which, I mean, even though we don't know much about this game right now, I think after 2 top-tier releases in a row, all eyes are on what they do next. This is an exciting independent studio with proven industry-leading talent. Let's go talk about Starfield, though, the big, huge new blockbuster. As I said earlier, technically, this game has yet to fully release, which is kind of crazy when you start to think about it. I mean, really, if you go out on social media or if you just look at how many people are playing this game already, it's right now dominating in every single category. It's dominated the headlines. People just cannot stop talking about this game, and it's even charting among the best-selling games, and that right there, that is what is so extremely impressive. I mean, here's a game that's coming to Game Pass day one for both consoles and PC tomorrow, or actually later tonight for a lot of people. But despite that, and despite players having to pay a premium price tag for its early access upgrade, which is $100 unless you have Game Pass, which it's then $30, but despite that, it's still charting among the best-selling games. The hype for Starfield is very real. Remember all those topics about quote-unquote nobody cares? Why isn't people talking about this game? How embarrassing is that topic now that we look back on it? I mean, to be fair, those topics are always disingenuous, meant to create discourse for the sake of clicks. But here we are, and Starfield is flying star high. In fact, we do now have some estimated numbers, and I think that it's even more impressive than what we previously realized. Before, we just kind of knew that it's peak high concurrent players on Steam, which is already above 250,000. That's very impressive alone. But check this out. According to Play Tracker, they said, based on our user sampling data so far, Play Tracker estimates Starfield has far surpassed the 1 million player milestone on both Steam and Xbox with just the Premium Edition buyers. Sampling data comes in slowly with a delay. Full launch is tomorrow. We'll be watching the fireworks. Now that means that Starfield has already sold 1 million individually on each platform, putting it above the 2 million mark at the bare minimum before its official launch, which is just absolutely crazy impressive. I mean, their final statement is exactly right. We're going to be watching the fireworks tomorrow because that's when the floodgates officially open. This is when the cheaper version will release for $70 if you want to buy the retail version, and then you also have Game Pass on top of that. And I mean, this game is going to be a monster. It's going to be one of the most played games of 2023, no doubt about it. I think what we're kind of seeing here, though, is that now that Starfield has reviewed well, I think that's really all fans needed to see. This is a studio that has a massive fan base with games like Skyrim and Fallout. Some of the most popular RPGs ever created came from Bethesda. So this isn't your typical new IP. I'd kind of compare Bethesda to somebody like Naughty Dog to some extent. I mean, yeah, they make the polar opposite games. I get that. One focuses on open world style games, Bethesda, whereas the other is more linear. But I'm talking about their reputation. Their reputation alone can sell millions upon millions of copies, and that's what we're seeing with Starfield. It met its expectations as a good game. It has scored well. It's dominated the headlines both in terms of media and player discussions. I mean, this is the game everybody seems to be talking about right now. People are buying into the hype, and yeah, Starfield, it's going to take flight tomorrow in a way that we haven't seen from an Xbox game in quite a long time. This is honestly massive for Xbox to get a console exclusive of this caliber. But that right there is the other thing that I want to talk about. There's always those people that kind of wonders how Xbox makes money from their first-party IP when they launch their games into Game Pass day one. But with Starfield, I think that they kind of showed you the formula and how they're going to do that. Of course, they're going to make money off their subscriptions, but they're also going to make money on full retail releases. People do still buy games. It's not 100% in Game Pass. It also has that early access upgrade where both Game Pass subscribers and full retail purchasers are buying into this game. And I guarantee you, Starfield is also going to have post-launch expansions as well, and that's going to make them even more money in the long run. Also, Steam's inclusion cannot be understated here. Steam is a major driving force in Xbox retail sales by this point, and especially when you're talking about a game like Starfield where it has a massive PC fan base. That PC fan base loves Bethesda games. Now, we've also seen a very similar formula with other Xbox games like Forza Horizon 5, and I think that this is kind of their future setup for their big AAA blockbusters. Now, keep in mind that they'll also make a lot of money on merchandise as well. Popularity does lead to other opportunities such as merchandise, but yeah, just big congrats to Xbox and Bethesda here. This is a major win for both of them. This is the exact reason that Microsoft went out and acquired a company of this caliber, and I just hope that everybody enjoys it tomorrow when they get the chance to play it themselves. It's genuinely a good game. I've put, I think, about 10 hours into it so far. It is just so massive, and I mean, it feels like you can just do so much in this game. So I hope everybody enjoys it when they get the chance to play it themselves. Now, we do also have a delay to talk about, and at first glance, this doesn't really seem like a big deal per se because it is a smaller game. But I thought the reasoning was worth talking about, and that's for the Alone in the Dark reboot. It was originally planned for an October release of 2023, but it's officially been pushed to January 16th of 2024. Interestingly, though, here was THQ Nordic's explanation. Let's face it, there are too many amazing games coming out this October. You want to play them all, we want to play them all, but there is simply not enough time. I mean, they're being very straightforward about this situation, and they do further specifically point to both Spider-Man 2 and Alan Wake 2 as a reason for them to move out of the month of October, but that there is the elephant in the room. You all have heard me in previous videos kind of joke about publishers forgetting about the month of November and December, and I mean, it really does feel like that they have. In all seriousness, I don't understand why these publishers are all shoehorning their big games into the month of October. I mean, I get that it's the beginning of the holiday period where a lot of these publishers like to release their games, but I mean, just look at all the big games planned for the month of October. You have Assassin's Creed Mirage, Forza Motorsports, Detective Pikachu Returns, Lords of Fallen, Sonic Superstars. You have Mario Wonder, Spider-Man 2, that's going to be a huge one, Metal Gear Solid Collection, and then, of course, Alan Wake 2. I mean, that is a ridiculously stacked lineup of games, which I think is a bad idea. If I was a publisher, I would have done exactly what THQ Nordic did. Now, I might still try to release my game in November or December where there's a little bit more breathing room, but whatever the case may be, I'd be moving out of the month of October by this point. It's just too much, and, you know, as a fan, that can be fun to talk about, but in reality, there's not enough time to play all these games. So without a doubt, there's going to be games that gets ignored this year, and you know, just kind of gets put on the watch list for future discounts. So which one of those games are going to get ignored? I kind of look at Sonic Superstars, and I think that game looks absolutely fantastic, but it releases just days before Mario Wonder. That just does not seem like a good idea to me. Both of these are in the same genre, releasing days apart. So, you know, just knowing Sega, that's a game that will go on a sell like a month later. So I could see fans waiting out on that specific game. Last year's example, Sonic Frontiers, that went on discount not even a month after release, where it sold for like $35. And the same thing might happen to Superstars because fans, they can't play all these games at once. So this delay and the reasoning that they gave, it does kind of make me wonder if we'll see some more movement in October. I could see a few other games maybe getting the delay treatment, which could actually be for the best thing to create some breathing room. But I guess we'll kind of see what happens. Let me know what you all think about this, though. Do you think that there's just too many games planned for October, or do you think that that's perfectly fine? There's no wrong answer here, so just kind of let me know in the comments below. Now, one last quick update that I want to go over, though. It does sound like a native Xbox Series version of Minecraft is finally on the way. I mean, they announced this HD Super Duper pack like years and years ago. There was also some talk about ray tracing at one point. That was over on the NVIDIA side, but Xbox Series, that's capable of ray tracing as well. But then everything just kind of went hush-hush to the point. I think a lot of fans just assumed that it was canceled. Now, maybe the ray tracing part of the game was toned down or removed. Maybe that's why it's taken such a long time. But thanks to some new ratings, it does appear at the very least a native Xbox Series version is indeed on the way. This is coming from a new ESRB rating where the Xbox Series version was spotted, and this also coincides with a German rating that just happened last month. So, I mean, you have two ratings happen within a 30-day period, and that's a pretty good sign that it's only a matter of time by this point before it becomes official. Now, it's just kind of about where they're going to announce it, and I think in this case, considering the size of the Minecraft community, they really could just drop a trailer and just be done with it. There's no guarantee that they're going to wait and announce this at a showcase, but nonetheless, it is finally happening, which is great for the Minecraft community. Let's go take a look at the poll of the day, though. We're asked you all, do you want a Hogwarts Legacy sequel? That is in the rumor mill right now, and wow. Okay, so the vast majority of those who have played it voted yes. 45% said yes, whereas 13% said no, and then 39% still hasn't played it. And I do agree with the majority here. I do like the Harry Potter IP, and I was pretty happy to see it have success earlier this year, and I do want to see more of this IP going forward in the game industry. I think that if anything, Hogwarts Legacy has proven that you can make a good Harry Potter game. I think that is fun. I think the world itself is very fun to explore. Now, admittedly, though, I did not love the first game. Now, don't get me wrong, I still think it's a good game, but I also see a lot of room for improvement, and that right there is what I'm personally excited to see. Avalanche Software can kind of take the feedback that they've gotten with the first game and really improve with their next entry. I think that they've shown a lot of promise as a AAA studio, and now I just think that they need to make some improvements. One thing that I would like to see is for them to make player choice a little bit more impactful. I think that was very lacking in Hogwarts Legacy. I would also like to see the story be a little bit better and just improve the relationships. Character bonds in the world of Harry Potter, that is an important part of the story, so I think that they do need to do a better job there. But yeah, I am absolutely looking forward to see where they go next with this IP. Anyways, though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget to bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.